podcast. I am your host, Mike Montague, and my guest this week is Dan Storey. He's an author, a trainer, a motivational athlete, competing in the natural Mr. Olympian here in a couple of weeks. But most importantly, we want to talk about the book, The Personal Transformation Blueprint, how to create powerful and unprecedented lasting change in your life. All kinds of cool stuff. We'll dig into a playful mindset, how to live your best life, and how to have some fun with it along the way. If you want to find more fun, flow, and fulfillment, go to playfulhumans.com. Here we go. We like to start with the joke of the week. The joke of the week this week is brought to you by your backup camera. When I put my car in reverse, it really takes me back. Okay, what do you call security guards for Samsung? Guardians of the Galaxy. There you go. All right, I got you a little bit on that one, Dan. Do you have a joke?
We're going to get on well, Mike. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite joke?
I do, but it's a lot. Like I like to draw people on. I take people on a journey, and if it's okay, I'll tell a little story about a guy called Timmy.
Yeah, we've got nothing but time. Go for
Amazing. I grew up in the 80s. I was technically born in the 70s, but in the 80s, back before the smoking bans and all those kind of fun things, it was like, I'd go to the bar as a kid, and your parents dragged you along. It was okay back then, but the place was full of smoke, couldn't see anything. And there was this kid that I knew called Timmy. He went to school. And we would go and see him in there occasionally. And Timmy loved tractors. Timmy absolutely loved tractors. We'd go around his house. He'd have tractor wallpaper. He had tractor lunchbox. All of his crayons had pictures of tractors on. Timmy was, he loved tractors. Like all of his toys, every Christmas he'd get a new tractor, that kind of thing. There wasn't much that he loved more than tractors, other than his dog. He had a tiny little dog. And you have to realize that I grew up in the countryside, right? So we would kind of go out and hang out at the back of the house, and we'd sit on the wall and we'd watch out over the fields, and there was tractors driving along, and Timmy would be loving it. He'd writing down the serial models and everything like that. And one day, Timmy, we were sitting there on the wall, and the dog jumped into the field and just ran off. And Timmy was like, no, wait. And we hear a few seconds later, this woo, and we go silent. And we're there for a moment. Timmy's mum jumps over the wall, comes back and says, Timmy, I'm so sorry. Holds the dog there, and the dog's gone. There's bits of it everywhere. It's just a tractor, man. The tractor hit the dog. Timmy's heartbroken. He runs into his bedroom. Remember, starts pulling down the wallpaper, smashes his lunchbox, breaks all his crayons, stamps on all of the tractors that he's got around the room, and screams to his mum. He says, Mum, I've had enough. I'm off down the pub. He goes to the pub, walks into the pub, climbs up onto the stool, says to the barman, he says, I've had a really bad day. He says, I need a drink. I need, give me a beer and a whiskey. And the barman turns around and says, sure thing. He says, hold on, wait a minute. Aren't you Timmy? Aren't you 4? He's like, yeah, I know, but I've had a really bad day. Just can I have a drink? He's like, Barman thinks, can't say no to this kid, but can't serve him. He's still 4 years old. So he says, you know what, Timmy? He says, if you can get rid of all of the smoke in this pub, I'll give you your drink. I think that'll be it. Timmy says, you know what? Fine. That's the deal I'll take. Timmy jumps down off of the stool, goes into the middle of the pub, takes 2 big deep breaths in, and then just massive, holds his breath, right, and then runs outside. Breathes out, runs back in again, does that twice more, comes back in, climbs up back on the stool, says to the barman, I'll take that drink now. Place is completely spotted, no smoke anywhere. Barman looks at him and just goes, that's weird. I wasn't expecting that, but man of my word. Turns around, gets him the drink, gets him the whiskey and the beer. Timmy hits the whiskey, takes a sip of the beer, and the barman's just staring at him, right? So, just what's going on? He says, Timmy, I got a note. So every day I come in, like I'm breathing smoke all day through my shift. Like I go home, my lungs are full of it. My clothes are stinking of it. You come in here and like 3 seconds later, all the smoke's gone. How did you do it? Timmy looks at him. He says, that's easy. I'm Timmy, the ex-Tractor fan.
Wow.
It's worth the wait, right? It's worth the wait. It's worth the wait. So there we go. That gives you a little insight into the inside of my mind.
I like that. I like a good twisted joke, some edges on it, and I love a storyteller. I can't tell jokes that long. I don't have the commitment for it. I'm afraid I'll just bomb.
I have no idea if we did. Like, people have probably dropped off this podcast a long time ago, but if anybody stuck around to hear the end of the joke,
no, that's why I loved being on the radio and doing podcasts, is because someone will laugh in their house, or car months from now. Exactly. But we don't care if they don't laugh or they groan. We don't hear. All right, that'll get us started in the right mood. So tell me a little bit about sports, athletics, and bodybuilding. Did you get into this at a young age and stuff? Did you have to find yourself again? How did this become a thing for you?
Bodybuilding has always been there as part of my life, but never as a competitor. Like, I grew up as a kid, I played soccer, we call it in Europe, football. And, I played loads as a kid. Like, I remember like at least 3 games, 4 games, sometimes on a weekend, like Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and then like, Sunday morning, and then 5-a-side with the boys on Sunday night. And by the end of the weekend, you're exhausted, but you've had a lot of fun. And I always trained, like I always went to the gym to try and stay strong. I was a little bit skinny as a kid. And I remember one day my dad put his right hand around my arm and went, oh, he's skinny arms. Because at that point I thought, I'll try this, going to the gym and lifting things. And this was back in the day. I don't remember Flex magazine. You had all these bodybuilders and you're like, oh, okay. And so I tried it. I thought I'd kind of give it a go, and I just really enjoyed it. But I always did it as a kind of a side hustle with the sport that I played. And then kind of COVID came. We had a daughter as well. So I now have a 4.5, almost 5-year-old daughter. And I was playing football at the time. I was like, I can't really play football anymore. It's a big commitment. I don't want to take all the time out. So what can I do that I can challenge myself, keep fit, but also have like an element of competition? And the idea of bodybuilding popped into my head. I don't know where it came from, but it seemed like a good idea at the time. And I said to my brother, who'd had some experience, said, I'm thinking about this bodybuilding thing. What do you think I should do? He said, don't do it. It's the worst idea ever. You're going to get hooked. You're going to have all these like anxiety issues about staying fit and keeping fit. And you have to measure all your food. And I'm like, I don't see any downsides yet. Where do I sign up? And that was it. And so, a few years ago, I started competing as a bodybuilder. It's very different to playing sport, but it's been a fun challenge so far.
Yeah, I kind of find that interesting. I feel maybe a little bit more like your brother. So tell me, and it could just be personal preference. We have a quiz on the website, playfulhumans.com/quiz. There's like 10 different play personalities. So you don't have to play a sport, or you don't have to be an artist or play an instrument to play for a living or to have fun. There's lots of different social plays. There's rough and tumble play for kids and boys that like to fight and wrestle and do all that kind of stuff. There's exploring or doing puzzles and board games and stuff too. They're all different types. So I'm always kind of fascinated about these kind of solo pursuits and what it is in your mind that brings you the joy and the play just from the working out. Is it the results? Is it the feeling you get while you're doing it? Is it like a focus and meditation? What makes sort of the exercise and specifically, I'm guessing, lifting for you that gets you into a flow state, I guess?
So I'm not always in flow state. This is the thing. Sometimes it feels very much like work. Like this morning, it felt like work. But the challenge for me, and where I find it fun, is just the self-discovery. I like figuring things out about myself. I like to kind of test my own limits and my boundaries to see what I'm truly capable of. I don't think I've got there yet. I think there's still some way to push and to challenge myself, but definitely lately I've been getting close. I'm coming up 2 weeks out from my biggest competition ever. So I've got to test the limits now. But again, this will then reset the bar and we can go from there. But I think the play is how we approach it every day. Like I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do the same workout that I did last week, that I did the week before. And, I'm just the same machine. I'm sitting in the same place. I'm probably wearing the same clothes like half the time. So it could get really tedious. And I think what we've got to do is find a way to find joy and excitement in the tedium, because that's the only way we're going to keep going. That's the only way we're going to, persist and do things for long enough that we actually make it a success. Like the big part for me of bodybuilding is literally just showing up. Like I have to have the discipline of working out almost every day, of making food that is quite frankly boring as heck, and finding a way to enjoy that. And so, a lot of the kind of the natural fun and play stuff is taken out. So you've got to find a way of doing the same things, but in a more playful way.
That's fun. I was definitely going to ask you about food because I love carbs. I love everything about it. And I love being an athlete too. I've always loved sports and working out, and a lot more cardio than lifting for me. I think in my opinion, there's different body types, and I'm somebody that can gain muscle and fat very quickly. And so I go lift for a couple of weeks, I can get big gains and look, pretty strong. But
I hate you
I
guys
can
already.
also gain 20 pounds in about 3 months and not look real great. But the food part, we just had my friend Sarah on the podcast. I'll have to send you her website, the freckle-faced-foodie.com, where she does healthy recipes, but she's really good with spices and flavors and not losing the style out of it, to get creative with the food and the ingredients that you need to eat to keep your macros in check and whatnot.
And that's the thing with food, right? There's the lazy way of doing it. And when I say the lazy way is fat and sugar. Like you add fat and sugar to anything, it's going to taste good. Like, and I'm just dreaming now. And if I start drooling on camera, I apologize. But adding fat and sugar is like, it's just a cheat code. It's so short, and it's so like unsatisfying. Like and by the way, I love ice cream. I love cake. My daughter like every Friday we'll go to the cake shop and she'll have an ice cream. We'll do that thing. And we'll do this as a family, like it's a family tradition every Friday. Sometimes I eat cake. Like I'm not gonna lie, I do have cake, but then when I'm in competition mode, I don't have cake. So it's like it's a timing thing. I think it's a timing thing. But yeah, one of the things with cooking is you got to get creative. You got to get playful. You got to kind of go into that weird aisle with all those weird ingredients and go, what the heck is this? Let's try it. Just pour it in. And
well, spices don't have a lot of calories. That's one of
exactly
codes for this, right? So you can mess with a lot of flavors.
I remember years ago, just as a fun thing, and I almost picked one up the other day, but I'm not allowed to have it at the moment because I can't change anything in my diet right now, just in case things go crazy. But plantain, have you ever had plantain cooked? It's like a big banana. And I remember I had some like Caribbean friends and plantain curry is amazing. So I thought, right, I'm going to make this plantain curry at home. I'm buying a plantain, looking at it, and all right, let's go. And just peeled it like a banana and started slicing it up. And I thought, you know what? I wonder if it tastes like a banana. So I took a bite. I don't know if you've ever bitten raw plantain. It was amazing because it instantly sucked every piece of moisture out of my face. It was So don't do that. Don't try and eat raw plantain. But you got to be creative. You got to be playful and just try things that stretch your experiences rather than just going for the default fat and sugar.
Plantains are surprisingly high in calories and carbs that I found, but I do love a dried plantain or fried plantains and stuff. You can make very good meals. So I would not experiment with those in the next couple of weeks. They can throw things off, but it's a good one to try if you're having fun. And the workout routines, maybe you could provide some tips for us too, and then we'll talk about the book because I want to jump into the rest of this too. Do you have any tips or tactics for how to keep it fresh? I kind of am. Again, I kind of have my own personal philosophy at this point where I like sort of the big body weight exercises, and I'm not trying to gain a lot of muscle and stuff, but I found that if you do sort of maybe the more standard, simple things like push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, and squats, you pretty much hit everything, and you don't have to get that creative. But I also get to points like you are where I kind of want more flexibility, or I want to do something different just to change it up. So I'll switch from biking to running to swimming, depending on the seasons and stuff. But then I end up feeling like I don't have a plan. So do you have any tips for keeping it fresh while still sticking to some sort of routine or plan?
Let's go with the 80-20 rule. So I'd say 80% of what you do is fairly consistent, and you can't beat the main lifts, right? Squats. I don't do flat bench because I'm too old and my shoulders are very creaky, but incline dumbbell or something along those lines. But the core lifts, right? And then there's 20% where you can be a little bit more playful. And so I'll give an example. Earlier this year, I got injured in the knee. I was playing five-a-side football with some people. It was a Sunday night, and it's five-a-side. I'm playing Sunday night five-a-side, and one of the other guys is playing in the World Cup final. And we meet at the same time on the ball, and he's kicking it a lot harder than I am. My knee doesn't have a lot of fun. I get pretty injured, and actually it impacted my last show, so I kind of had some vengeance later in the year. And it took me a little bit longer to rehab and recover, but then I was like, okay, no, let's get on to this. And so if I think about leg workouts, you're thinking squats and lunges, but I also know that I now need to put in a bit of balance. So, okay, so how can I do that? For those people who know, Bulgarian split squats are not fun, but they are a great exercise. But what is fun is single leg squatting, right? Now, this sounds really dumb. It sounds like the most basic things. Everyone can squat, but can you do it on one leg? Because there's not only is there additional strength involved, there's a ton of balance because your knees just going all over the place like that. It looks like a guitar string. It's absolutely mad. Then if you add in a bosu, which is like the ball that's cut in half with the plate on top, gives you a little bit more movement. That's my challenge. It's like, can I squat all the way down, all the way up with control without my knee going, I don't like it anymore. And going like that. So long story short, I got to a point where I can actually do 5, 6, 7 of those now without, I still look a little, I would call it epileptic spider. Like, so my arms are kind of going crazy all over the place. It's the only way I can describe it really. But it's a bit of fun. It's a challenge, and I find a way to, okay, well, if we can do it like that, how else can I do it? Maybe do I hold a weight in one arm and try and add another element of balance? And it does have technical benefits. It does have training benefits, but it changes the way you think about things. Like, I'm not just thinking about grunting and lifting a heavy weight. I've now got to think, like, how is this working? How am I balancing? How am I counterbalancing and doing all of those aspects? And I think one of the things about rest is they say you don't need to rest, turn off. It's do something different is as good as a rest.
That's where I was going to go. You kind of mentioned 3 things that I talk about in my new book that's coming up, and some things on this podcast a lot. One is any one single measurement is a dumb measurement. If you're only seeing how much you can bench, you're going to destroy a lot of other things, or you're going to look silly because you're going to have a huge chest and skinny legs and other stuff like that. But you need to do functional stuff and stretching and things to make sure, when you're lifting that much, you can still do functional things like wipe your butt and other stuff by yourself. That I question sometimes these strong men are doing for themselves.
I hope you wipe your butt by yourself. That would be a certain hope that I would have.
Well, if you get too big, you can't fit back there, right? If you work the back too much.
That is a good point.
So that one was for me. That was a thought I've had when watching these strong men that can't, put their belts around themselves, or very large people as well. So sidetracked. Back to the lessons. You got to change it up. Do functional stretching, movement. You mentioned rest. Recovery is important too. If you just you're benching or doing push-ups all day long, you're not giving yourself time to heal and build muscle and other things. And then I think there is this mental side of the game that I want to talk to you about and transfer to the book too, is that not only will it wear out your muscles if you're only doing one thing all the time, it wears out your mind, and it's just not fun. So building in that play activity into anything that you're doing, even if it's writing a book, find some time to write something else too, because you learn from that and you recharge, and you build in creativity and spontaneity that creates other connections and stuff. Can you talk a little bit about your book, how you got into writing and how it came about?
So this is technically my second book, the Personal Transformation Blueprint. I wrote a book on sales 10 years ago called Next Level Persuasion. So my background is teaching salespeople psychology and teaching them how to influence things a little bit more effectively. I wrote this book, and I wrote it in 2 stages. The first one was I wrote a textbook, which I hated with a passion. And then I remember I was out running. It was on Richmond Common in Southwest London. And I was running, and this idea of NLP, Next Level Persuasion, came to me. And I'm like, And then I rewrote the book in that vein. And so I kind of been through it before, and I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? But as I went through the bodybuilding challenge, and I'm a behavioral scientist, I studied it as a master's degree. And so I kind of have all the scientific background, but I don't want to write a textbook. I want to write practical tips that are delivered in a way that people can connect with. And a message, there's something I keep saying to myself, is there's no such thing as a unique message, only a unique messenger. So I'm saying some of the things that other people have said before, but I have to say it in my way. I have to get very comfortable with my voice to say it in a way, because I'll connect with people that other people can't connect with. So I think that was one of the fun things, is how do I bring aspects of me and my personality into my writing? And you say you're writing. So the challenge is the balance, right? I can write formal. I've written a dissertation and I know how to write formal, and it's not me and it's horrible. I can also go full me. Like, and the Timmy joke is close. Like that's pretty good. But people don't want to read a book that's kind of full of Timmy jokes. So, but there is aspects of my personality within this book, and I'm actually writing another one now called Unstuck, which is really focusing on that first bit, which how do we break out of this trap of average, I call it, where we just get stuck in a way of thinking. And like you said, is we don't change, we just become very comfortable and we've done all right. And so there's no motivation, there's no drive to go and do anything more because we've actually done all right. But then we also look at ourselves and say, well, I'm not quite satisfied. I'm not happy enough to say yay, but I'm also not dissatisfied enough to go, well, do something about it. And so as a writer, and like, this is one of the things now, I have to show up. This is the biggest thing for me, is I have to show up and I have to do writing. And sometimes I have good days. Sometimes I have bad days. Sometimes I just have days. And I'd say the last few days have been really good. I've been in full flow. But before that, it was literally keyboard. And I think it's the same with workouts, I think, I heard recently on an interview is, not all your workouts are going to feel really good. Some of them are going to feel amazing. Like, and you can buy this stuff called pre-workout now, which is it's a cheat. It just fills you with caffeine and all these amazing things that makes your body, in theory, feel great for about an hour. But then after that, it fades away and you come back to normal life. So there's going to be some good workouts. There's going to be some workouts which suck. Like, you're tired, your body's hurting, you don't really want to do it. Even your warm-up weight feels heavy. And then there's just those meta workouts, which are just, it's a workout. You're not going to write home about it. You're not going to go, best workout ever. And you've got to accept that. I think that's what life is. Life is not all moments are great. We're not full of sunshine and rainbows and buzzing all the time. We're not like that, but we still go to work. And that's how I think about bodybuilding, is I'm going to go and do it. Whether I feel like it or not. I know there's a plan. Like, this is the thing. Most people don't have a plan. They don't have they think everything's going to happen immediately on one workout. So they do the best workout ever. Yeah. And then they don't go for 3 weeks because everything hurts and it didn't work. But if you've got a plan and you stick to that plan, then you get somewhere. And I think most people fall short because they don't have the discipline to show up, and they try and do things in a timeline that is unrealistic.
I love that. And I would add to that, or just highlight, plan for those good, bad, and middle days. So I like that. And I think it's okay to say, like, I don't have it today. I'm just going to finish this one. Or if it hurts, stop and, let yourself heal and come back and try it again the next one. I think life is short and long at the same time. Like we have to keep going, because if you take some time off, all of a sudden that turns into years, and you're out of shape. But also the good days, lean into those and go do it and enjoy it and have fun. But know that they're not all going to be the average, or they're not all going to go according to plan. And you have to kind of prepare your mind for that and play with whatever gives you, because that makes it interesting too.
It's just if you judge yourself on that one thing, you're going to go up and down all the time. If you judge yourself over a period of time, you give yourself some like, oh, okay, well, I didn't do so good there, but I did all right. Even for me with calories, right? This is really boring. So apologies if we're going to go and talk about calories, but like my daughter comes home from school, she's got a few snacks left, and then she wants, I want ice cream, I want this, that, and the other. And she's like, can I have it? And I'm like, yeah, of course you can. Like most of the time. I'm a little bit sugar police. I don't want her to have all the things, but like I'm not great at saying no all the time. But then she'll have something that I really want. Like yesterday, there's a tin of biscuits that we got for Christmas, which are already open and almost gone. And there was a biscuit I really want to try it. So I thought, screw it, I'm going to have a biscuit. Like, and if I judge in that moment, I'm like, oh no, you've ruined everything. Everything is broken. Like terrible, terrible, terrible. But if I look at it across the course of a day, it's like one biscuit. I can go for a walk for 5 minutes and kind of burn some of that off, or I can do an extra whatever. I'm not going to give myself a hard time for that, as long as I know that it fits within a bigger plan. But in that moment, that one moment, I was weak. I was a mortal. But it's it's a good.
I love it. All right, you ready to play a game?
Let's do it.
Here we go. All right, we're talking with Dan Storey, author of the Personal Transformation Blueprint. Find that on Amazon and get it for you today here. Also a motivational athlete. We're going to play Survey Says. So we surveyed 100 people. The top 5 answers are on the card. If you get 1 out of the top 5 in 2 out of 3 questions, you win. I name something people do to prevent wrinkles.
Prevent wrinkles. It's going to be on top 5, right? I'm going to go with moisturizer.
Yeah, yes. There you go. Lotion, moisturizer. Number 1 answer, 55 points. Facelift.
Cucumbers.
Avoiding
is going to be the other one. Like
iron and Botox. I guess we did not say face wrinkles, but you need to iron your clothes, or starch would work there too. Okay. Name something people have trouble getting rid of.
Sorry. My mum came to mind to visit.
In-laws, house guests. No.
We'll go with house guests. Yeah, we'll go with house guests. Sorry, Mum, if you're listening. But I can put your
that was in there at number 5. Only 4 points for that. Insects, clothes or shoes, extra weight, and rats came in at the top of the list. But technically, you've already won. One more for fun. I'm going to go back to this one because we had fun with it last time. Name something people get on and get off of.
The bus. We get on and off.
Number 1 answer. Yeah.
Recent experiences. We've done a lot of bus trips around New York. So, having a lot of fun exploring.
You nailed it. Horse, train, bikes, and feet. Got to get it off your feet sometimes. All right. Dan, you win a free 30-second commercial. How can we help you or you help us?
Well, it's all about getting unstuck. I think we get into positions where we're not, like I said, we're not happy. We're not completely dissatisfied. And so we need something to kind of knock us off the peg. If we wait long enough, something's going to come, but we can probably do that for ourselves. So this is what I talk about in the Personal Transformation Blueprint, is this idea that we get stuck in the trap of average. What we need to do, challenge ourselves, set a bigger goal, dream. As soon as you have that dream, you're going to understand that you're opening up a gap between who you are and who you want to be. That's going to create imposter syndrome. Happens to us all. Got to get over it. Got to show up, turn up, and do the things that person does until you become mentally and physically that person. Doesn't come with balance. You got to sacrifice some things. Not talking about goats and virgins, but I am talking about strategic sacrifice, like in a game of chess, where we give up a pawn to get a bishop or something along those lines. That's the extent of my chess knowledge. But don't think about balance. Think about seasons. In this season, you're going to hustle. You're going to grind. You're going to put in the work. You're going to work smart. And at the end of it, whether you get what you want to become or what you want to get or not, it's going to be an amazing journey.
Dan, I love it. That is great stuff. And you do have a funny personality. I think we're kindred spirits with our sales training background. And then either get really serious and you're doing very boring things repetitively a whole bunch of times, or you're completely goofy and funny. And there's some great stuff in there. So I love it. Go check out Dan and check out playfulhumans.com. Look for the new book soon at the website, just called Playful Humans. And go check out Dan's. We'll see you next time. Go play, everybody.
Don't wait for tomorrow. Live for today. Keep on chasing the sunshine.